I normally offer supervised therapy for $60 an hour, whether it's face-to-face or online. But now, during these challenging times, I've just felt led to offer online counseling for $40 an hour. And we'll just do this kind of to see where we're at here in the near future if things change. I don't want money to be a barrier during this time. So face-to-face counseling will still be $60 an hour, but online therapy will be $40 an hour. Today, I just want to talk about not just the money barrier, but other common barriers that people have with counseling and online counseling. The first one is needs. At the end of the last video, I spoke about needs that may be a barrier. Your needs basically need to be seen by you as worth something. They're important. They're telling you something about yourself and your relationships. No matter how great the needs are around you, and we live right now in challenging times, we live in changing times, but family dynamics and individual needs, they don't always change that quickly. They're still there. In fact, with some personal and relational issues, they only get magnified in times like this. So we may be thinking about like boundaries for the family during lockdown, or tensions in the home, or maybe there are questions about love that you're facing right now. So don't let your needs kind of get in the way, whether or not you think they're small or big. They're still your needs. So if you need somebody to talk to about those, this may be a good time. Another barrier might be counseling itself. Why counseling? Why not something else? We all know that there are people in our lives that we could talk to easily, and we'd probably rather call them than a therapist. However, I think about friends, I think about family, people that we can confide in. Maybe there's a teacher, maybe there's a pastor, and these are all people that are good to talk to. But I do have a question for you. If you are having a personal issue or a family issue that you just can't seem to wrap your mind around, would you rather seek out a mental health professional or a beautician, for instance? Now, we all know probably that beauticians are great listeners, but is your issue that you're facing one of her specialties? Well, maybe not. And that's one of the reasons to consider counseling. Well, what about your pastor? Isn't he in the same league? Well, certainly. And oftentimes, pastors are great choices, especially in the short term. Over the long term, though, I'm speaking as a pastor. I'm speaking here in my church and my platform. But it can be a little bit difficult to offer spiritual direction for a couple of major reasons. One is that if I'm offering in-depth spiritual direction, I'm trained to do that, and I can do that as a pastor. I enjoy doing that as a pastor, but it often changes the dynamics of the relationship with the parishioner once we get into in-depth spiritual direction. It's just something that comes with the territory. Also, just to be honest, there are many other obligations on a pastor's plate. His time is limited, and he's dicing it up between various leadership obligations and roles in the church. And it's not just all about standing behind the pulpit on Sunday morning. He has a lot of time restraints. And so as much as pastors enjoy spiritual direction and giving that to their parishioners, sometimes they're just limited for time. So there's a couple of reasons that make it difficult for pastors. And also, pastors find themselves, and they've confided in me at times, that they're looking for Christian mental health professionals. They want to refer people to a counselor, possibly after a few sessions, whether it's 3 or 5. Sometimes they have a set number like that, and they just want to give that person over to somebody who can help them deal a little bit more in depth with their issues. And they understand this, and I think we should all understand this, that counseling is a ministry. A Christian ministry, when it's done by Christian professionals, counseling can complement the pastoral ministry, not compete with it. So, as we're looking at that barrier, why counseling, I think these are some good reasons why we should have counseling. A third barrier we could talk about is Christianity in itself. What about my Christian faith? Isn't all humanistic psychology, isn't all that theory opposed to God? Well, I would say not at all. When I went to seminary, there were over 300 counseling theories, and many of them are easy to integrate with Christian practice. They leave room for our faith to be exercised freely so that we can kind of exercise our Christian muscles in counseling. And there are plenty of Christian counseling theories as well. In fact, when it comes to practice, I practice in satellite churches or satellite offices within churches. I just enjoy practicing inside of churches. I'm an ordained minister myself. I have 2 graduate seminary degrees, and I honor the client's wishes about religion, but they often, that's one of the reasons why they approach me. Faith is commonly part of the counseling session. So Christianity is really no barrier at all. Then another barrier might be online security. Is it secret? Is it safe? Can I trust online counseling? In the state of Michigan and in many other states, they've come to trust this so much that it's becoming quite common. I work with pastors, educators, and therapists, and specifically 2 education administrators, not just teachers, but administrators, have recommended that I use Zoom for online meetings. It's the most secret and safe option for a free connection right now at this time, they say. And they have to maintain a high degree of confidentiality in education circles. So I've been already working with Zoom with clients. So it's safe because the state says it's safe, and it's also safe because we can have these tools at our fingertips like Zoom that are very confidential. Another thing that makes online rooms confidential and safe is that there is a working agreement. I work out of a home office when I'm doing online therapy usually. I'm shut in basically. There's no traffic on or off the screen. It's just me. And I believe it's the client's responsibility to do the same thing, to protect the trust of the relationship that's being developed. So with these things in mind, online security is really a non-issue, not a barrier. And then what about another state? Isn't that a barrier? Can I receive counseling in other states? You may be asking. And I would just say that Michigan law says yes. It allows me to offer online therapy to clients in other states, but however, Michigan law yields to the laws of that client's states. So in other words, each state is different. Michigan allows for it, but if you are interested and you're in another state, please go ahead and connect with me, and I'll look into your state law. If your state has a green light, Michigan says it's okay. So it probably isn't a barrier as well if you're in another state. So hopefully this video clears away some common barriers that people have about counseling and specifically online therapy. We all have barriers at times, and you may have other barriers. Feel free to reach out and I'll see if I can answer some of those questions you have. And some of these barriers have nothing to do at all with money, but it doesn't hurt to have a discount either. Remember, online therapy right now is not $60 an hour. It's now $40 an hour. So let's remove any barriers that can keep us from working together through these challenging times.